the real crisis started in Israel. So what's happening here, it's a reaction to the crisis. When we are far away, it can be very, very complicated to be outside of Israel these days. We're not there, so we can't face it directly and do something directly to volunteer and to do something else. We're here, we're far, we hear the news, we watch the social media, then we have the reaction to Jewish community, then we have, on the one hand, our regular life continues, but nothing regular inside this looking regular life. And I think it's very important to start distinguishing what's happening online and what's happening in a real life now. In reality, it's aggressive enough. I'm not saying that it's not aggressive.
Yeah, but we don't need to add more to that.
The reality is complicated enough. When I see the reality through the social media lens, it becomes unbearable. We need to take care of ourselves and to plan for the long run.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anat Kriger, and I'm a Jewish Israeli actress and singer, and I've been living in Toronto in the past 8 years. The past couple of weeks were extremely difficult and still are for the Jewish and Israeli community. The situation in Israel made so many Jewish and Israeli people around the world feel isolated from their other communities. Antisemitism is on the rise these days, and something that I hear a lot is I feel alone. And the truth is that you're not alone. We're all in this together. I've had so many fascinating conversations about the topic, and I thought of starting recording them because maybe this will be valuable to more people. And so today, I'm very happy to introduce Sveta Model. Sveta is a registered social worker and a psychotherapist. She was born and raised in Moscow and then immigrated to Israel and then immigrated to Canada. She has 3 wonderful boys, and in addition to her therapeutic work, she recently published her first children's book. I met Sveta a few years ago as a therapist, and I kind of knew we're going to be collaborating at some point. But I wasn't sure on how, when, and what we're going to do. I must say that I thought our first collaboration will start in happier circumstances. But a few days after everything started in Israel, I had an instinct to reach out to her and ask her to do a collaborated Instagram Live so we could talk about how we can cope and protect ourselves during this difficult time. Our live got a lot of positive feedback, and we thought we should continue and do more of this. And this time around, we decided to do it in English so more people will have access to it. I'm very happy to have Sveta here with me today and just to be able to talk and share our feelings and our thoughts about the current situation. I hope that whoever listens to this conversation will take something out of it, or at least will feel a little less alone. Hi, Sveta.
Hi, Anat. Hi, everybody. Yeah, so we're together here again recording, and I have to say that it's my first time recording something in English. So I am excited and worried together, but I know that it will be fine.
Yeah, of course. I want to ask you, how are you doing? But this seems such a complicated question these days.
I think that the answer is if before the war started in Israel, it was okay, I am good. So today I can't answer that question just in a simple way. It is complicated. But I think that also what I every day tell to myself and remind to my kids that the collective story is horrible and scaring. But also collective always has many individual paths inside of it. And sometimes when we feel that it's too scary, the good way to approach it is to think, okay, what is collective inside of it and what is my private individual part? For example, my kids, when the anti-Semitism started in Toronto, and as for somebody who was born in Moscow and raised there till my age of 14, it's not my first time facing anti-Semitism. So I remember it from my childhood and from my teenage years, the feeling of being scared to be Jewish. And also what was, I understand it today as an adult and as a mom of three kids and as somebody who lived in Israel for 20 years that my family didn't talk with me enough about what does it mean to be Jewish. What I was told was just, okay, so we are Jewish, we are smart, and everybody hates us, so be careful. And probably it's better not to share to everybody that you are Jewish. But it wasn't enough for me. So
Yeah.
today, when I am a parent, I think that my kids are too small to understand. My oldest is 9, and my middle one, he is 8, and my youngest is 6. So we talk about war, we talk about anti-Semitism, but we do not talk through details. So they don't know the exact details. But I every day ask them how was their day at school and if someone told them about them being Jewish. And I understand that it's my fear of Jewish
Yeah.
mom that something will happen.
Yeah.
But by asking this question, they ask me back, Mom, why do you ask it? So I explained to them that today it's not so easy to be Jewish because usually in Canada, Jewish people can be very appreciated. But today it's more complicated, and Jewish people sometimes feel scared because we meet lots of people who don't like us and they ask why.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you see a
so
big difference these days? Because you've been living in Toronto for how long?
for 12 years,
12 years. So do you
yes.
see a difference between the treatment Jewish people or the Jewish community gets these days comparing to, I don't know.
I don't feel the difference, being honest, but I live not in a Jewish neighborhood.
Hmm.
So my concern was that our neighborhood, I live in the High Park area neighborhood, that I will see too many flags supporting Palestine
Hmm.
because it's a liberal left wing community.
Hmm.
And so there are some houses that they do have the flags. We don't go around them. Our school is neutral. Um, so in my neighborhood, I don't feel the difference. But I work with my clients are from Jewish neighborhoods, and I think that there it's very different now. And also, I rent an office, say in Yongen Center, so it's near the Jewish area,
Hmm.
uh, so I can feel the difference there.
And how would you compare the difference these days to what you experienced in your childhood, for example?
I can't really compare because I think that Canada and Russia they are very different countries and very different social climate.
Hmm.
But I think that anti-Semitism has same components through our whole Jewish history. It's
Hmm.
not first time that we are hated. It's not first time that we hear awful comments to regarding our being Jewish. So I think that anti-Semitism it's the same schematic structure, fear and hate mixed together.
Hmm.
And instead of learning from us, because there are so many wonderful things that other peoples can learn from us, um, so lots of times they prefer to hate us. And I think that this narrative is actually an old narrative through the whole Jewish history. Jewish holidays, Passover, they tried to kill us in Egypt. We survived.
Yeah.
We have a holiday. Amazing. We become stronger and better.
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. They tried to destroy us. They hated us. Miracle. We become a stronger and more beautiful community. Purim, the same. Like this narrative, and even not religious holidays, for example, Israeli holidays as a Remembrance Day, and the next day, the Independence Day, it's the same idea.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think that the narrative is an old narrative, nothing new is there. But I think that each generation, how we react to this narrative, it's different. And I think that today it's so confusing that I see, for example, again, I ask my kids, how was their day? What did they learn? So we are living, and society is trying to tell us that we can't judge, and we should be nice, and we should expect this and that, and we should accept this and that, and this life matters and that life matters. And then when it comes to Jewish life, does it really matter? Is it like the same message here? I'm not sure. So as a parent, it's very important for me to teach my kids that Jewish life matters, period.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what others say.
Yeah.
Sometimes probably it would be even smarter not to talk to those who hate you and yell at you. Because in regular situation, if it wasn't related to situation in Israel or to Judaism, probably you would avoid these people and conversation with them. You would say, maybe first they need to calm down before they start hearing the words. Or if you have aggression in your personality, you may say, okay, they're aggressive to me, I will go with my aggression too. But not everybody is aggressive.
Right. So
Thanks
what do you
God.
tell your kids to
So my answer to my kids is, okay, somebody can like us or not. Somebody can like us or not, doesn't matter. It can be related to the fact that we're Jewish or not. Somebody can like us as personalities or dislike us as personalities. So sometimes the Jewish story not always related to the fact that somebody doesn't like us. But when it's related to the Jewish story, so my answer to that is, I'm very proud to be Jewish, and I know why. My kids are too little to know, so I'm talk about them to start building their Jewish pride. We brought so much to this world. I want to find another nation that has so many talented scientists, doctors, advocates, writers. How many beautiful values we brought to the world. We have so many reasons to be proud. And when I am proud, yes, it's really disturbing to face anti-Semitism, but it's much less disturbing when I become less scared in front of them because I know who I am. And I don't need their permission to exist.
Yeah,
For
you don't need
sure. I haven't asked their
approval.
opinion about me. So
Yeah.
as in different situation, when I know who I am, when I am proud for who I am, when I respect who I am, I don't need their permission and opinion.
Yeah. But sometimes I see, and I know that you said your clients deal with anti-Semitism when, like, in personal situation, like with coworkers, people around them.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about that?
So I think again there is in every crisis, especially crises that are the real crisis started in Israel. So what's happening here? It's a reaction to the crisis,
Yeah.
and here it's a secondary crisis, but
Right.
the heart of the crisis in Israel.
Right.
Sometimes when we are far away, we are like our part of our heart is there because we have families. Part of our heart is here, and being honest, I don't know. Sometimes I feel, and what I hear from my clients, it can be very, very complicated to be outside of Israel these days, especially for those who have families there,
Yeah.
because we're not there, so we can't face it directly and do something directly to volunteer and to do something else. We're here, we're far, we hear the news, we watch the social media, then we have the reaction to Jewish community, then we have, on the one hand, our regular life continues, but nothing regular inside this looking regular life.
Yeah.
We feel so different inside. it may look very regular and standard from outside.
Yeah.
We may continue doing same things, but for example, from students, I hear that they can't concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
From people who work, I hear a lot that, oh my God, it's so helpful that I have things to do. Otherwise, I would go crazy
Right.
because I'm worried so much. I'm constantly on my phone, asking my family, supporting my friends, reacting to here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So in this situation, I think it's very important to start distinguishing what's happening online and what's happening in a real time, in a real life now. For
Okay.
sure, there's anti-Semitism. But
Mm-hmm.
for example, for somebody who has Instagram account, before I muted all those that I don't want to hear now, I had a feeling that like, oh my God, it's if I'm not a combat soldier these days, I won't survive it through. For sure, I will be killed and burned, and it looks so cruel. So I muted first because in reality,
Mm-hmm.
even in Torontonian reality where anti-Semitism exists, but it's very different for how it looks in social media.
Yeah. It looks very aggressive on social media.
Much more aggressive than in reality. In reality, it's aggressive enough. I'm not saying that it's not
Yeah.
aggressive.
But we don't
It's
need to add more to that.
we don't need to add more fire to that for sure. It's aggressive enough in reality.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who still haven't done these mute channels or just unsubscribe from those who disturb them with their messages, I would strongly recommend doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, me personally, I enter less social media today. I enter because I have to, uh, but before that, I was like just to enter social media to check my friends are here there. So now I'm doing it less because the reality is complicated enough, and when I see the reality through the social media lens, it becomes unbearable. So
Yeah.
I protect myself, I protect my psychic, and I am an adult. I
Yeah.
already have my formed values and opinions. For
Mm-hmm.
those who are not adults yet, for teenagers or for young adults who are still going through personality formation, uh, it can be much more disturbing than for the adult person.
So you
And
just go on social media, like consciously, okay, now I'm going and making it short or less time, just like,
I make it much shorter because it's important for me to continue writing and to support my community and to go to do lives, and yeah, I think it's a supportive message. But also through my personal, for example, like social media accounts, it took it took me a few hours that I really went through what I see on my personal account. And for some people, I just muted them because what they were posting, it was disturbing for me.
mhm,
For others, if their content was too disturbing, and for example, we haven't been in touch a lot, so I just unfollowed them.
yeah,
There were people that I blocked.
yep. Which is fair all the time, but now
Yes, I
I'm,
think that it's fair all the time. I agree, especially for those who have active social media and they do something for their, I don't know, for their work through social media. So we have lots of subscribers. And me personally, I don't know everyone who is subscribed to me. So when crisis times become, we can see who is who more clearly.
mhm,
So this is what I did, and I would recommend everybody to do it because
and
we need to take care of ourselves and to plan for the long run. Because if we're planning, and I hope that everyone is planning to survive it and to become stronger and to become more proud of being Jewish and to become more connected to community, to families, or to find community if you don't have one for now.
mhm,
So we need to keep our energy. We need to direct it for for helping each other.
yeah,
This is one of the main Jewish values. We always were helping each other. we can unite and support. And this is what we do even these difficult days.
Yeah. For example, this conversation is
Yes.
one of the things. So many great things are starting these days to build community and to unite the Jewish Israeli people together, which is
And
wonderful.
and again, if we're going back to the anti-Semitic narrative and to Jewish holidays, so this is how we react. This is how we reacted always. We become stronger, more united, more supportive to each other. My hope that one day we just can keep it without the enemies from outside the community. But maybe we will get there. I'm holding that hope inside my heart. Maybe not for my generation, for my kids, but I think it's also very important to find what gives you hope. And I think that one of the things that gives me hope is looking the most beautiful expressions of humanity in our Jewish community. How many beautiful initiatives are going around to support people here, to support multiple various projects in Israel, to support families and friends, to do it in the more organized way or just to do it in a personal way. There are so many options. And this is so beautiful. This is so human. This is so Jewish. This is so proud.
Mhm.
And it's an action.
Yeah.
Action, a real action. Again, I'm not saying that what's going on in social media is not real because virtual life is part of our reality. I
Mhm.
understand that. So it's real enough to disturb us. But still, I think that real reality is more real.
Yeah. And
And
trying to focus on
yes,
actions you can do.
and when we do something in a real reality,
Mhm.
it empowers.
Right.
It lifts your spirit.
Yeah.
It gives you a hope. And also it helps you to be less on virtual reality.
Right. Because you're busy. You have less
Yes,
time to
yes.
just scroll around and
Another important thing that important message for me, especially for younger people, for teenagers or for young adults, I think that everyone is different. We have different personalities, we have different sets of skills, we have different abilities. And sometimes when we are going through collective trauma, or for example, in the social media, when we are scrolling and we see all these multiple attacks, we can feel that the only way to protect ourselves is to become some kind of a soldier on a online level, or like go to the real army, like soldier archetype.
Mhm.
But not everyone is a soldier. We still can be brave and do something else.
right.
We can be brave and proud and transform it into various actions that are more close to our personalities. I can't take a weapon, for example. Sometimes I would like to, but I can't. It's not who I am.
Yeah.
But I have my words, I have my heart.
So
So
everybody's
I can
willing to deal
took
with it.
and do. Yes. And this is the mission that I took upon myself. I support through words. I say out loud my words, and this is my bravery. I am very Jewish through my words. So I do not expect from myself to do something that I cannot. Because when we expect from ourselves to do something that we are not, we enter the cycle of self blame or disappointment,
Mhm.
and it takes our energy away. What is needed now to put ourselves together, and it's not easy. So sometimes we need help for that. Sometimes it's enough to talk with our families or friends. Sometimes we need a professional help to understand how can I put myself together? how I can protect myself, how I can, where is my boundary? Because sometimes people don't understand where their boundary is. For example, I can hear last week I was working with a student, so and it was pro-Palestine thing in the university, and he really wanted to say something, but he didn't find a way how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then he really felt bad. And actually, what happened there that he didn't protect his boundary,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to find ways how to do it. So sometimes to say something, we it's not, to go to the center and to yell, listen all of you. No, sometimes it's, to wait, to see who were the participants, to
Mm-hmm.
find one that you feel the most safe, to ask, are you
You feel comfortable.
sure? Yes, are you sure about the message that you spread around? And it would be enough.
Yeah.
It would be enough.
So everyone has their own um, abilities
And
for
we can
contribution.
find, yes, and we can find ways how to do it, because sometimes people would like to speak, but
Yeah.
their expectation that if I go to protest, I will yell. But then they go to protest and they feel scared.
Yeah.
So then the legitimate question, maybe you were not supposed to go to protest.
Yeah. And actually, sometimes private conversations one on one are actually
Exactly.
more beneficial. I've had lots
Exactly.
of private conversations lately with people who may not know fully, like, may not understand the situation in Israel. And I think those conversations made a real difference. And I feel like not everyone should go to protests, or not everyone should, start explaining themselves on social media. Not everyone can do it, and that's okay.
I think that those who can do it, they are doing it already. And there are people who
Yeah.
do it brilliantly.
Yeah.
Like we have Jewish people, Jewish Israeli ambassadors, like social media combats. They do it brilliantly. We can
Hmm.
support them.
Yeah.
Maybe over the time we can find our words in our level, how to project it in our social media. If it is important for us, if it's not important for us, it's okay too.
Yeah.
There are people who feel wonderful when they go to protests.
Yeah. But we don't need to put pressure on ourselves.
But
I have
exactly,
to do it, because we don't
exactly.
have to do
We
anything.
do exactly. We don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
We can choose to be our best these days. And then the legit question would be how I can do it.
Yeah. And every day it might be different. Maybe
Yes,
today I have energy to talk, and maybe tomorrow I don't, and that's okay.
yes, yes. For me, for example, it was very important. Say, I was in New York when the war started, so it was important for me to go to protest to the rally there, support Israel. But today, I'm not going to protests. I took a different mission.
Hmm.
And I don't want someone to blame me for choosing that. I won't take that blame, even if somebody will blame me, because I understand my boundaries. I understand why this choice was made. And I took another mission. I think there are plenty of missions
Yeah.
what we can do
Do whatever
and
works for
how
you.
we can do. Yes.
When it's big and like everybody hates us or something, sometimes it looks a little bit outside. But then when it's people who we know personally, all of a sudden, post things about the other side or have a different opinion, I find that it's a it's a little bit challenging. Do you hear that sometimes from clients?
Yes. So I think that in general, when we say that everyone hates us,
Yeah.
or about this situation, or when we have that feeling that everyone is like this or like that, we went wrong direction.
Yeah.
It's because it's never truth. It's
That's
just never. It's like something happened to us that we, I don't know, we took it the wrong way, because it's never everyone. Even
right.
through the most horrific times, like through Holocaust, 10% of Germans was supporting Jewish people. 10%.
Hmm. Right.
So it's never everyone. Maybe we do not have ability to distinguish. But I would say that for me, when I have a feeling that everyone is against me or everyone hates me or whatever, so for me, it's a sign, Sveta, stop, breathe, take a break, and ask, who are these everyone? I go outside, I live near the Ontario Lake, I live near High Park. Do you feel this person hates you? Do you think this person hates you? And usually I don't. So I start breaking this everyone to
Right.
reality.
Right.
And then usually it helps to distinguish, to put the boundary between that unrealistic feeling of everyone, it's unrealistic, to bring myself to reality. And then I can actually ask, but what happened? What created that feeling? Who
Hmm.
hates you and it hurts you so much? Because
Right.
people whom I don't know, I really don't care.
No, that's what I mean. When it's people that you don't know,
Yes,
it's
yes.
it doesn't bother me so much too. But when sometimes you deal with these situations that are personal with maybe
Yes.
close friends.
And then I think here we touch a real truth, because sometimes we can hide a truth behind everyone. You know,
Right.
it's easier to say everyone hates me and then I hate everyone and I protect myself. But we are collective beings. We
Hmm.
are social beings. And if we feel hurted, so there's something personal going on there. There's a
Right.
personal story. And personal story, it's never the everyone.
Hmm.
So, and then we should ask, who is that person that it disturbs me so much that I feel this pain? Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's someone who, I don't know, we felt that we had close connection in social media and we were chatting about ha da da, but now we see that person posts. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we have a choice. Because if the relationship with this person matters for us, and for sure it matters because when we feel pain, it matters,
Hmm.
we have a real chance to do something about ourselves, to protect our boundary, to clarify, to start a conversation and to say, hey, listen, I felt that we are friends, but through your messages or through your support, I don't know, I have so many doubts. I am Jewish, I am Israeli. What do you mean by saying it? Whom do you support?
This is a tough conversation to open.
It's a tough conversation to open. And I think that before we open these conversations, we we should be prepared.
Hmm.
We should be prepared. Because if we do not have our answers, our personal answers, so we will be lost there.
Yeah.
For
It's
example, I hear a lot again from students in social media. So those who they felt are their friends or friend group or like wider friend group, they post support Gaza, whatever. I also support people in Gaza who do not support Hamas. I would like to hope that they are there.
hmm.
But when it's told in the narrative, I support Gaza, it means that someone hasn't asked the question, why happening what is happening in Gaza now?
Hmm.
When someone shows a victim as a pure victim, 100% victim, it's much easier, but the situation is much more complicated.
Yeah.
I also don't want children in Gaza to be killed.
Hmm.
I'm a humane person, I'm a very sensitive person, but it's a complicated story. And
Yeah.
a lot of people do not understand that by making it like a simplified, I support Gaza,
Hmm.
they support the. First of all, I think that it's much easier to support someone who looks poor or who looks a victim. And I think that it's some kind of a trend, modern trend.
Yeah. And I
To,
think most Jewish Israeli people do want, people in Gaza, civilian in Gaza, to be okay and
for
not to
sure,
be killed.
I think Israelis want to have them something to be
Yeah,
afraid to lose, because when they have nothing to lose, they kill us. They have nothing to lose. Who cares?
exactly. But let's not get into that
We
because I
won't go
think
there.
it's
Yes, and we
very
won't go to political
this is
stuff as
not
well.
our purpose
It's
of
not our purpose.
of this.
But
But when you start a conversation with someone, it may go there. And you're right.
for sure, we'll
You need
go
to
there.
know your stuff before you
You
start.
need to know your answers, and to get your answers, it means you have to have your formed opinion about what's going
Hmm.
on and this conflict is so complicated, so it has multiple layers.
Right.
It has political layer, it has a humanitarian layer, it has an ancient story.
Yeah. But do your research before and make sure you know what you think.
So I would advise to, for sure, to do research. I would advise these days to. I think it's important to know the roots.
Yeah. And it's so easy also. Like the
Yes,
internet.
and it's so out there.
Yeah.
And also, I think so. When we started, I shared about my kids, and so my main idea today is to help them to raise them as proud Jews.
Hmm.
And so also I talk with them about like Judaism, about our history, because we can't be Jewish without knowing anything about what to be Jewish is.
Yeah.
And it's part of the pride to know our stories. We have, doesn't matter we believe in them as a reality and then we're religious, or just we listen to them as stories,
Right.
as narrative that influenced our culture.
Hmm. Yeah. And I
Still,
bet.
there are so many things that we can learn. These are beautiful, beautiful stories full of values.
Yeah. And it's so important to have these conversation at home
Exactly.
because I'm pretty sure they don't learn about it in school, like in Israel, in history class and stuff like that.
Yes, maybe. In Israel, I studied in religious school. So
Mhm.
in religious school, for sure, we studied that.
I
Um,
studied in regular school, and you learn a lot of things in history class. Obviously, not everything, but still, I feel like people in Israel they're more aware of the history, and here you need to make an
mhm,
effort to teach your kids and talk about it at home.
mhm.
Otherwise,
And even sometimes I find that so lots of Jewish people, Israelis who live here, um, they choose that their kids go to Jewish schools, or but I think what's learned in Jewish school, it may be very different from a conversation at home
yeah.
when we, I don't know, read something together and discuss it,
Mhm.
and we find a different angle how to
Mhm.
share what we think, what we feel.
Yeah.
So just going to Jewish school might be not enough to feel, to build that heart
Connection.
connection,
Hmm.
because the connection is not from there. When the connection is just from here, it's not enough.
Right.
Because what's going on today, if we approach it just from here, we go crazy.
Right.
And also in crisis, I think, and actually sometimes what happens in crisis, that because it's so complicated, so or we become too rational because our brain is strong and we think about things, but then we it's like we cut our heart, we cut our emotions because we're afraid of
Mhm.
feelings. um And it takes time to find our ways to be balanced, to have our feelings turned on, even though these are hard feelings, still to be rational, because ratio helps with feelings as well. We can go from here to there, from here, and it's a dance. To be connected to our bodies because we live inside our bodies. our cognitive, our emotional being, our physical being all together. And we have also senses in our body. Sometimes people who always, for example, when we are anxious or we have panic attack, we if we dig in, we would find a thought that triggers that, or feeling that triggers that. And if it's a thought, usually a thought would be about the future, what
Hmm.
might happen.
Right. But
And
but
then
real.
the techniques are to go back to your body, and through your body to remind yourself that what might happen is not happening now, and you're in now.
Right. Being
And the
present.
same, yes, and the same here. Sometimes when scary things are happening around, we add to it. It's already scary enough, but when we think about it too much, we may add to it more layers of fear and anxiety just by the fact of constantly thinking about it.
Hmm.
So it's very helpful to be present in your body, to spend time outside, to do simple things,
Yeah.
to call a friend,
Right.
to drink coffee with somebody, to talk with somebody whom you feel supported, to
Yeah.
cry together, to hug each other, like physically or in words, text somebody, I want to hug you. My heart wants to hug you. I think about you.
Yeah. To focus on the little things are
Yes,
really
definitely.
helpful,
Definitely.
especially these days. Yeah. Um, do you have anything you want to say to, sum this conversation? Maybe we talked about, how to deal with the situation right now, and turn our anxiety to doing something, doesn't matter what it is to you, that works for you, or focusing on the little things and start conversations when you can, when you feel ready. Sometimes,
Mhm.
you don't feel ready at the moment, but then a few days pass, or maybe a week pass, and then you feel a little bit more ready for that, and that's valid as well. Do
Yes,
you
it's
have?
important for me to say that it's okay not to be ready.
Yeah.
We are not supposed to act right away. Actually, when we act right away, our survival, if really bad things are happening and when we are in a huge danger, we will act right away. But
Right.
when we are not in that mode, we are not supposed to act right away. So we
Mhm.
need to remind ourselves that it's okay not to be ready. I need my time.
Yeah, and not do like impulsive things,
Yes,
and send angry messages,
yes.
and
And then maybe to
start a
ask,
war.
yes, I want to get ready for what? For
Mhm.
start doing something in my community. This is would be probably an easier step to start. Maybe
Right.
later, when I start talking with people from my community and I feel less alone, I become more ready to conversation with those who are outside my community.
Yeah.
Maybe when I talk with people in my community, and some opinions, me like, other opinions, not exactly about myself. So it also helps to form your own opinion.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then when we have our opinion more formed, we feel, oh, finally, I'm ready to talk about this aspect. And again, we are not supposed to be ready to talk about everything. It's too complicated. It's thousands of years conflict.
Yeah.
And so I would share something personal. When I start conversations about what's going on in Israel with the non-Jewish and Israeli population, so the message that's very important for me, and it's much easier for me to start with, that it's very complicated. When you approach it that way,
Hmm.
you just say you support Gaza. It's like you delete all the thousands years that brought to the point of now. But anyways, I had few conversations started from there.
Yeah. To just admit it's complicated. I'm not
Complicated.
trying to
It's
answer all the
complicated.
questions, because I
Yes,
don't have the answers, and I
yes,
don't have the solution, and that's okay. Because a lot of Jewish Israeli people feel like they their way to defend, and help is basically having answers to everything. But the truth is, there are not answers to everything.
Mhm.
And
And I think that if not Jewish people will listen to our conversation, and someone from them posts a lot supportive Gaza messages, I think it would be, I would advise to ask, why am I doing it? Why it's so important for me as a person, as a son of my parents, as a friend of my friends,
mhm,
as someone living in this specific time, 2023, knowing that there was a history before this 2023 year. What am I doing by these messages?
mhm,
What am I trying to say to the world? That I'm a good person? Is it the right way to show it in this so complicated conflict? Are you sure that there are goods and bads there? Are you 100% sure about that?
yeah,
And then by posting these messages, you think that you're on a good side. This is what makes you good, a good person, a good human. You support them because it's much more complicated.
yeah. And don't be afraid to also reach out to your
Reach
Jewish Israeli
out.
friends. They would
Yes,
love to talk to you. And
yes.
maybe if not now, then tomorrow or next week. But like,
And sometimes it's also, difficult to reach out because someone, and I think that today it's like social media tendency and everyone wants to be like good and positive, and so I support this and I support that and we support Gaza. And then people, time goes by and it's not so easy, but I've already supported, and maybe I have Jewish friends and people may feel embarrassed as well.
right,
I would say, guys, it's okay.
yeah,
Still, you can call your Jewish friends or text them or say, you know what? It was, I did it. It was, I don't know what happened. Something happened there.
but let's talk about it. I
Let's
want to
talk about it.
hear.
I
I want
want
to
to hear
know.
you. I want to know. How are you?
Yeah.
How
and
are
and
you?
and because I think most people that will listen to it are Jewish or Israeli, if we if people don't reach to us from the other side and we feel like we want to talk to them, that's okay too. So this is what we talk
It's more
about.
than okay. I
Yeah,
think it's more than okay because when we initiate something, we feel much stronger. When we wait for someone to approach us,
yeah,
it takes our
in a
this
weak
like
position.
waiting, yes, it takes our energy away.
Yeah,
So I would advise not to wait for anyone. If there are people in your surrounding that are important for you and you feel ready to have that conversation, you can start that conversation.
yeah,
Why haven't you asked? Where have you been?
yeah. Or
My
even
my
just
family my
even just
family is okay in Israel or not okay in Israel.
Yeah. But even just saying, you know what, I think you're not aware how much this affects me, or just saying
Yes,
things that, because sometimes the other side doesn't think too much, and sometimes they don't know. So if you feel the responsibility of saying, you know what, this really affects me, you may not know, but I'm actually not okay, and I would love to talk about it because I saw some of your posts, and this is such a human conversation, and I feel like
mhm.
it has a lot of power.
Did you have these types of
I
conversations?
did. It took me a while. At first, I had a lot of chats, just texting, and I was just saying, you know what, I don't think I'm strong enough right now to talk about it, and I hope that one day I will. But once I let that go, and a week, 2 weeks pass by, I'm like, you know what, I feel like I can do it right now, and started having these chats with so many different people from different backgrounds, and even though I felt like sometimes, oh, they don't understand us or they support the other side, our conversation was wonderful, and so empathetic and so loving, and I feel like, as I said, sometimes the other side don't know how much this affects us, because from the outside here, at least in Toronto, it looks like everything's normal, life is normal, but
Mhm.
we are not in normal reality. And Yeah, I started reaching out to people, and I find it very valuable to have these private conversations. Not everything needs to be big events and big social media
Mhm.
posts, or these like one-on-one
Mhm. On a
conversations.
personal scale, and I think it
Yeah,
goes deeper,
yeah,
and then yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I have to tell you also that I've had conversations with people who are from the other side, and we both were, talking and crying together and mourning our people, and it just it gave me so much hope in humanity and in this world. And I don't know, it was beautiful to see two sides of the story just talking together and sharing and just wanting to have peace. And Yeah,
Mhm.
I think this is such a positive note to end
Yes, and with
conversation.
hope. Yes,
Yes,
agree.
with hope and light and love.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Sveta. um,
Thanks for initiating our conversation today.
Yeah. And I hope that someone will find value in this conversation. And as I mentioned at the beginning, or at least will feel a little bit less alone.
Yes,
Thank you.
Am Israel Chai.